Hey everybody, I'm Chad Stewart. I'm a software engineer from Kingston, Jamaica. And the reason why I'm doing this video is because I mentioned on Twitter that I mentioned a bunch of things about debugging JavaScript on Twitter. So today, literally maybe an hour ago, I just found out that you can debug, you can use debugger in VS Code without an extension. So for whatever silly reason, whenever I was debugging code, unless it was like React code or something, I would literally take the code, like if I had like one file, like say for instance, um, you're practicing for interviews, right? And I wanted to run the file, I would literally take it into Chrome and I would have a script snippet and I just dump it in there and just play around there, right? Just play around with the file there. Um, I know you had like debugger for Chrome. To be fair, I just didn't really think about using it. But like I said, today I found out that debugger is native in VS Code. I guess more or less they have their own debugger, right? And I'd mentioned that, and I'd also mentioned I like using the debugger keyword in JavaScript. Um, I come from I come from C++, so you know, it doesn't even matter. I mean, like you have breakpoints in C++ and like Java and stuff like that, and that's cool. I think because I was actually thinking about this earlier. I think because as JavaScript developers, we're so used to just console logging stuff. I've kind of gotten used to the idea that if I want to if I want to debug my code, I should use a keyword as opposed to setting breakpoints. But I don't know. It's yeah, I like it. I like it a lot. But like I said, somebody had mentioned. Well, I don't think I said like I didn't think I said that, but somebody had mentioned that they don't really know how to debug JavaScript, and so I just wanted to give a quick rundown, mainly of what I learned today. Kind of how I kind of debug JavaScript. How I debug JavaScript, just like some quick things, some quick tips. And yeah, so let's get into it. Let me move into this and then go into here. So I am going to set up because I was playing with this earlier. Um, Let me close that. So this is TypeScript, and it's not as important that it's TypeScript. But either way, where do I want to start? Okay, yeah. So for setting up the debugger in Chrome, what you want to do is you want to go to this debugger tab, run and debug, right? And you go here, and then you want to click, you want to set up a create.json file. Oh, Jesus, man. Launch.json file. So you click create a launch.json file right here, and then it will ask you which workspace you want it in. Click here. I do not know why they have these doubled. My assumption is that there are two types of of at least for browsers, there's two types of ways that Chrome can debug. It can attach to a existing browser that is open, or it can launch a browser, and I'm assuming that's the reason why it's doubled, but it doesn't matter. Just click Chrome. You get some stuff here. I'm gonna delete this because I kind of wanna, because there'll be points where you do that and you will not get a configuration. When I first did this, I didn't get the configuration file, and so I just want to kind of talk about the add configuration button down here. So like I said, you have attach to an existing browser or launch. So I choose launch, and like this is what was here before, but the thing that I wanted to mention well, I wanted to mention. So we have all of these here, just the object with all the configurations. This address you want to change to the address of your application. So I'm changing it to 3000, and I'm doing that because the local server that I am running is on localhost 3000. So you would change this to exactly where your application is running. If it's running locally, you would, localhost and the port that it's running on. Um, I guess if it's running online, then you just put in that address. And yeah, that's pretty much it. So to debugging, uh, this has no, so this file doesn't, you can run the debugger and it will just open a window. And like this is just a Chrome window, and you can do all the things that you would do. Like this is literally Chrome. You can do all the things that you would generally do in Chrome. You can view the console, stuff like that. This button has a console log on it, so it will send a message whenever whenever you click it. Let me close that. What I do, like I mentioned earlier, I use the debugger. I use the debugger key. I'm sorry. I have to entertain myself while I'm doing this. So I use the debugger keyword. And what will happen is that once JavaScript sees this, it will open the debugger and it will give you all manner of information here, right? So let's run this again. You can run the debugger two ways. You can click on the play button here, or you can go up here, click start debugging, or you can press F5 to start the debugger here. And why isn't it okay? Either way, I believe the debugger will run. No, oh right, because I did not compile this. Sorry, this is TypeScript. I forgot to compile the TypeScript, so I need to do that. Right, now when you run the debugger, it will go into debug mode and you have access to all your variables. Now this is pretty sparse. Pretty much the only thing I have is button, and then the this for, I don't even know. Oh, the this for, I guess this this if statement is pretty much it at the top of the not the call stack, but I don't remember. But this it would be attached to window. But the point is that you have all your variables here, and you can look through everything about the variables. So actually, what would actually, you know what, let me continue going with this. So you can just go through all the variables, and in JavaScript everything has a bunch of attributes on it. Like you can just literally go through all of this and your head will explode. But yeah, this is pretty much it. I believe that you can add a watch here, so you can click, and I'm not going to, because I'm not very used to using watch, but is it button? I guess we can just check the button variable. Yeah, so you just add, and you can just watch a variable as it's going through the application. For those not used to debugging, you have a few options here. I generally use step over and step into. I'm not necessarily sure what step out means. I think step out would mean if you are in a function, you would literally run the application until the function ends, but not necessarily until the app ends. And then you have just continue the running of the application normally. This is a button that I'm just learning about now. This is the restart button. So you can continue, you can go through the debugger, just keep clicking, and whoopee, right? So the application is done. You can just literally click this and it will restart the debugger where at the point where you added either a breakpoint or the debugger keyword. Like I said, I personally like the debugger keyword more than breakpoints because it's more explicit. And like I said, in JavaScript, at least for me, this is my opinion, but because we are very explicit in our debugging by putting console logs everywhere, this just feels more intuitive to me. Um, and that's pretty much it. This isn't necessarily an elaborate file to debug, so I'm gonna see if I can find anything else more elaborate to debug, and I will talk about debugging directly in Chrome really quickly. So let me just, so that it's not all that bothersome. Cool. So sources, um how I was debugging before is I would go into code snippets, and yeah, I would go into code snippets. This is actually from a what you call it, what is that thing called? That is from an interview that I did, but I think this works really well actually as something to debug. So what we will do is we will add a debugger keyword here, and we will run this. So in code snippets in the dev tools of Chrome, you can just more or less do the same thing. To you just write code here, and it will just run the file here. Obviously you have to call the function if you're writing a function. Um, but yeah, so what we will do is to run this. You can, there's a few ways of running this. You can hit this, I believe, to run. No, how do you run this? I don't remember how you run this. I generally do. Oh, right. So you can, yeah, run snippet here. So it's down here, and you can just control enter, which is what I generally do. This gives you a little bit more information than the debugger. I'm not going to, because I'm still new to the VS Code debugger. I'm a little bit more used to this, but yeah. So like for instance, it will give you the scope, and it pretty much give you all the variables so far. Um, right. All the variables so far, and like all the stuff that's in them. So like for instance, we passed a, which is the random variable that they had given me for the interview. I just kind of passed a um an array in, and you can see it here, and it's similar. It's pretty similar here. So it's like you can step into the next function call, and so this is just checking that a is even. Let's not focus too much about the actual code itself. I just kind of want to talk about pretty much this stuff, like yeah, pretty much this stuff. So the scope and stuff like that. So we're at this point where I'm declaring an empty object, and you see the object ends up here, like, yeah, it ends up there. So just keep going. We declared an empty array. The array ends up there. And then we have this for, and it also will start like letting you know about the blocks of, like, if you declare something in blocks of code, it will let you know here. And then you just kind of go through, so on and so forth. If statement. Also, it will kind of give you an idea of what's going on as things happen. But yeah, just keep going. Let me see. All right, so we added something to this object, right? So what this line says is check is to add this key. This is like for those who are not as familiar with JavaScript, just think of this, well, it's a key value pair, but think of this as like a hash map. And so I'm adding this value of 1 to this to the key value pair, or sorry, to this key, and the key is literally one, which is this value in, where is it, in the, what is it, the, in the array, in the array known as a. I like, this is the reason why I write descriptive. This is the reason why I write descriptive variables, because this is so confusing to even talk about. And then we're just gonna push the the same value into test. But as you can see, like, as we go through the application, this stuff is changing, and you can see like everything in here, like you can see the array. It will give you the length. The length is a property of the array, and then I believe these are a bunch of things. Yes, these are a bunch of attributes to arrays. So like these are like a bunch of functions to arrays that you can go through as well. I won't go too much into that, but pretty much like everything about this variable, you can just kind of go through here. And then, like I said, it kind of gives you an idea of what variable is in what scope. Like, well, this is an array, so the same thing here. You have different attributes for objects, and yeah, we can just keep going through here. So, you know what? This is a good time to find out what this button does. Click. Yeah, so that, like I figured. Oh, I put another I put another debugger because I was debugging this code. So yeah, like I figured. If you're in like a block of code, if you click step out, you just complete the function. You just do the function until completion. Let me actually finish running this code and take this debugger out, so that I just want to confirm something. So I'm in the function, click. Okay, so it will just keep going until it runs into like another breakpoint. So it doesn't, does it? Yeah, it will keep going until it runs into another breakpoint. But that's pretty much it. There's other things as well. So like this isn't a React project, so there isn't like React dev tools. But I think this is like a quick rundown. So pretty much you can use debugger. You can in here. You can also use breakpoints as well. Let me set a breakpoint. And it will show up here, which is particularly useful. But it will show up here, and then when you run this code, it will stop at the breakpoint. You can actually tell what you call it. You can actually tell Chrome to use which breakpoint. So if I run this now without it checked, it will still go through the breakpoint. It's it's supposed to. Well, either way, I guess I was incorrect in that assumption. Should be, well, either way. So actually, I think it did. Yeah, I think it did. Because I'm not getting. All right, so that's what I figured. Right, yeah. So if you have this checked, it means that the execution will stop at that particular breakpoint. If you don't have this checked, it will not stop. It will just go through the program and ignore the breakpoint. But like I said, I like using debugger. In fact, after this, I'm probably going to go look at if there are like debugger keywords in other languages, just out of curiosity, because I kind of like that idea of having like a keyword as opposed to a breakpoint, which you can like. This is a little bit more explicit, but generally breakpoints are just like little red dots that you can easily miss, right? Anyways, and that's pretty much it. There is also debugging in Chrome, or not Chrome, in Node as well, I will give a quick thing about that, and I will do that by just copying this code. What do I want to do? Yeah, let me put this. Let me put this in here. So new file. I'll just call it test.js, and I will put it in here. And so I believe, let me see, debugger. I will just put the let me not put the debugger there. Let me put the debugger here. Haha. Yes. And let me see. So cd. Actually, I don't even need to do that. Node like source slash. Just making sure. Don't compile. And then test.js. And so you can do debugging in Node as well. I personally do not like command line debugging, but you can, as it doesn't. I don't remember how do you do debug mode in Node. I do not remember how you do debug mode. I guess, and I don't know if I don't know if Node has a debugger keyword. You know what? Let me just talk about it. You can do debugging in Node, but like I personally don't like command line debugging. Personally, it is just like it's harder to get the information that you need in command line debugging. I'm pretty sure there's people that do it. I just personally don't. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Uh, yeah, that's pretty much it for debugging. If you have any questions, please feel free to leave a comment on this YouTube video. You can also reach out to me on Twitter, Chad_R_Stewart, and I will answer your questions as best as I can, or point you in the direction to point you in the right direction, or my best to the best of my ability, point you in the right direction to get your question answered. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Thank you for watching, and have a good one.